Hi there, my name's Michael Blythe. Welcome to the BFI London Film Festival. Back in 2017, Francis Lee's impeccably realised debut feature, God's Own Country, signalled the arrival of a really exciting new British filmmaking voice. And now with Ammonite, he's absolutely delivered on that promise, crafting a beautifully textured, emotionally layered and achingly moving love story, which is driven by two extraordinary performances from Kate Winslet and Saoirse Ronan at the heart. I really can't think of a better film to close this year's festival with, and I'm so excited that Kate and Saoirse are here to have a quick chat. So please welcome Kate and Saoirse. Hello to you both.
Hi. Hello. That was very lovely. It made me feel all soft and gooey.
Oh, well, I meant every word. It's such an extraordinary film. I just wanted to start by saying huge congratulations to both of you. You deliver such beautiful performances in the film, and it's such a pleasure to watch and such a joy to be able to talk to you today. So just wanted to kind of know, I guess, really about kind of how it all began for you both with this film. You know, how did you both come on board with the project?
So the script came to me through the normal channels. It goes to your agent gives it a read and says, quickly read this. And that was what happened. And Francis had sent it via my agent to me. And I read it immediately. I was filming something else at the time, and it can often be really very hard to read another script when you're so focused on the project that you're actually doing day to day. But my agent just said, you absolutely have, I don't care what's going on, you just absolutely have to read this right now. It's extraordinary. And so I did, and I got it and just sat down and read it. And then, and 12 hours later, that was at midnight, and 12 hours later, I'd said yes, that I would absolutely love to do it. And then I immediately met Francis. I feel like the next day I got on a train from where I live in the south of England and went to London and met him. And I don't know what it was about the script. It was so quiet and so held, but emotionally the power behind every nuanced little moment was so resonant and profound to me. And he crafted this wonderful female love story that somehow wasn't sort of hidden or a secret. So therefore he didn't have to build that into the narrative. It was just about these two women from completely opposite worlds, classes, social backgrounds, everything coming together and learning things about themselves as a result of the love that they discover. And it mesmerized me from the moment I read it. And I also felt that kind of really good thing, I think, as an actor, when you sometimes feel, I was completely terrified, and I just thought, fuck, I actually don't think I know how I would even begin to play this part. But that I think it's probably the best thing to feel, because then you know that the challenge is enormous and will feel enormous every day. And I kind of love that. Actually, I think even as I get older, I'm almost loving that feeling more and more, because the opportunity to play parts like this one, do still feel quite scarce. And so anyway, it was all of that for me. And then within seconds of meeting Francis, he said, look, we just have to talk to Saoirse immediately. And I was like, yes, immediately. And so then it went straight to Saoirse, I think. And you were doing Little Women, weren't you, Saoirse?
Yeah, and I've told you already that Timothy and I were doing a shot, which was literally the shot from Titanic, where we held each other's hands and spun each other around, and we did like exactly the same camera move. And with that, I got a phone call from Kate, and had spoken to Francis like about a week before that. The script had come to me, like, I'd say it came to me a few weeks before, and I'm terrible whenever I'm working on something. I'm not really able to sort of split my brain and think about like any other project that will happen afterwards. So then I got this call from Kate, and I was like, I've just done a Rose and Jack scene, basically. And she said, just like have a good think about it, because I think, I don't know, something about having Kate in my corner as well made me really sort of excited about it. And so I gave it a good read and spoke to Francis for like 3 hours or something while I was in Boston on my day off. And it just felt like the right thing to do. I think because it was the two of them that were going to make this together, but also, you know, the next film after Little Women that I was going to do would be Ammonite, and I had come from this very sort of busy, loud, sort of tumbling film that had like a lot of people in every single scene. And I think just as an actor, what I felt like I really needed to do next was do something that, as Kate said, was a little bit more quiet, and to get to work that sort of intensely with one other actor mainly was really what I was looking for, and had obviously always wanted to work with Kate. So and we had actually met as well quite a few times at events, and we'd like interviewed each other for like Vanity Fair or something like that. So we'd had these like weird interactions before, and had always gotten on well, and I knew it was, you know, it was going to be a case that it was two actors working together that were sort of on the same wavelength. So yeah.
And as you mentioned, Saoirse, the film's very much a kind of two-hander. You know, it's very much centered purely around your relationship. I wonder if you could tell me a little bit about how the two of you worked together, what that experience was like, and how the two of you worked together to kind of create this intimacy and this relationship that we see on screen.
Well, Kate's incredibly organized, and Kate loves our post-its and our stickers, and so she sort of like lured me into the world of stationery and organization, and we bonded over that. And so we would sit in rehearsals and on our lunch break and sort of like take our little sticky notes out and go, oh, okay, so this is this bit. And, you know, it was a very, very intricate story. And, you know, from the outside, there isn't anything necessarily that's very dramatic that happens within the story. So it was very important for the three of us, myself, Kate and Frances, to really kind of knuckle down and go, okay, where are these like very gentle progressions taking place within our relationship and within the story? And yeah, and I think that's sort of how we worked on that together. But I also think just, you know, you're either lucky or you're not in terms of the person that you're acting opposite. And so we were very lucky that from the very beginning we kind of spoke the same language, I think, right, Kate?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, we were so lucky, and I think, you know, like Saoirse had said, we had met before and, you know, crossed paths at film festivals and events, and there's a sort of a strange backstage element to being an actor where you'll often find yourself crashing into people you've never met before but have admired tremendously for years, and you sort of tend to often, actually in my case, make a complete idiot of yourself in these kind of frantic, sweaty kind of, oh my god, it's you, I loved you in that thing. And so Saoirse and I had quite a few moments like that. But there's a film crew member who we've known, both of us, for quite a long time, and she had worked as a makeup artist who'd worked with Saoirse many times since Atonement, and yeah, that was the earliest one with Ivana, right? And then I'd worked with Ivana, the same hair and makeup artist, many times, and Ivana would always say, oh god, it seems almost bonkers to me that you and Saoirse actually haven't worked together. So we sort of had this kind of like, oh, it's finally happening feeling, I think, when we did come together, and that just kind of helped enormously in terms of, you know, there's a sort of a shorthand that you have sometimes with an actor that really can help, and we definitely had that. And I think in terms of building the real relationship between Charlotte and Mary, we just took the time. Lots of talking through things, you know, no real like standing up and actual rehearsing, but we did have a couple of weeks of being able to kind of meander over the script and discuss things. And there were certain things that we did slightly choreograph, some of the more intimate moments. I think it was important to kind of sort of figure out what the beats of that would be, just because actually it was helpful to Francis to know what he was then communicating to Stéphane, who was our cinematographer, and the art department and so on. So it was, we were able to craft some of those specific things before we actually shot. But we were just so close together all the time, weren't we, Saoirse, really?
Yeah, and also I think like at the heart of this film is two people coming together that, as Kate said, are from completely different worlds. So like Kate had done an awful lot of prep in Lyme and spent a lot of time in Lyme, and I didn't really. I was doing fittings in London and sort of did my own research in other parts of the UK that were very separate from where the film was going to take place. And I do think there was something that was kind of integral to the relationship that was, you know, she would go off and do her stuff and be very absorbed in her world, and I needed to go off and do my thing and be very absorbed in my world. And the whole point is that they kind of, you know, they get to a place where it's a meeting of the minds. So that kind of needed to happen as we were filming anyway. So in terms of prep, apart from when we would go through the script, we had like separate rehearsals that we would do, which I think really worked actually.
Yeah, it did actually, because Serge was learning the piano, I was learning how to bash rocks open, and we'd kind of convene and go, oh, how was your piano thing? And she'd say, well, how was that, you know, how did you find any ammonites this morning? I'd say, yes, look, I've got this broken one here. I'd smash
like, that just looks like a rock.
Yeah, Serge would be like, that just looks like no, there are 7 ammonites inside this thing.
Just wait.
Yeah.
I can play Beethoven, what can you do? You know?
Smash loads of rocks with a hammer.
I just wanted to also, just before we finish, I want to ask about Francis and working with him. What kind of director is he in terms of how he works with actors and how he kind of worked with the two of you to get the performances that we see?
So Francis, well, I mean, I found him to be absolutely wonderful, because he has he sort of almost is Mary Anning in a funny kind of a way. And I know that might sound odd, but, you know, he's from a properly northern working class upbringing. He only made his first film 4 years ago. And so that sense of kind of, you know, wanting to sort of survive, succeed, plow on, you know, that the sort of real kind of working class ethics that are truly ingrained in him, I actually found quite helpful in terms of just the energy for Mary. And I was surprised by that. I didn't think I would actually find so much in terms of just rhythm that kind of came off of Francis and sort of fell onto me a little bit. And I did find that quite helpful. Because he was an actor, you know, he knows that we all get insecure and fearful at times. And I felt he was very mindful of that. He's quite still. I mean, he's definitely visually sort of immaculate in terms of how he thinks. And sometimes I think it would be a very new experience for him when Serge and I together would say, actually, do you know what? We've got an idea. Let us just play with this for a minute. He'd go, and he was very good. He'd always say, yeah, absolutely. But it would sometimes be a big jump for him to have to separate himself from how he had imagined a scene or a moment might be. And also because he'd written it and he'd been living with these characters in his spirit for such a long time. And so it was hard for him definitely to kind of, I think, let go of these people, these characters that he'd created, and sort of let us fully take them. But he really did do that. We absolutely had these parts for ourselves, to ourselves, and it was a really terrific process, you know. A small crew, and he liked that. He likes things to be unfussy, again, much like Mary. And it was a low budget film, you know. I mean, it was an independent low budget film, so there were never enough hours in the day. There was, you know, never enough daylight. There was, you know, sometimes too much sunshine, you know, and all the challenges that come along with making a film on a shoestring. And everyone just mucked in, you know. He had a great crew, I have to say. I really admired the choices he made in terms of production heads, department heads. That made a huge difference to the overall feel and tone of the film. He's a fascinating man, I think, because he has come to directing so late. He doesn't bring sort of, I don't know, there's something different about Francis. It's hard to describe, you know. Self-taught, you know, that sort of, I don't know, that kind of almost like a hand-to-mouth style of filmmaking or something that was very interesting for me, and I'd never come across that really before. And I found it super helpful for what I had to do. Anyway, sorry, I went on quite a long time there. Probably took up all the time. Oh, Serge, sorry, you just rolled your eyes at me.
So much I wanted to say.
I'm sorry.
But LFF are never going to hear that now.
No, come on, it's your go. Sorry.
No, Kate said everything. Honestly, like, yeah, it was a new experience for me as well, working with someone like Francis. And you know, I think he was very sort of specific about the type of rehearsals we were going to do and how we were going to shoot and what kind of look he wanted for his film. And he was very, very determined to make this film still and quiet and very, very sort of insular. And yeah, and I think, as Kate said, you know, with every director, you're sort of having to adapt to their style and their way of doing things. And this was another challenge in that way, where you were sort of having to, you know, watch what you were doing with your hands and sort of keep everything contained because of the period we were in and sort of the overall energy he wanted for the film, I guess. So yeah, it was really great. And I mean, he encouraged me to keep diaries. And sorry, my puppy is having a fit over in the corner, sorry. But yeah, that's basically it. It was a whole new experience for me. So
well, I mean, once again, I just want to say huge congratulations to the two of you. Really incredible performances. And I think that there's the kind of connection, the chemistry which you share on screen, which honestly feels magic. I think it's really extraordinary what you both achieved in the film. And thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Michael. Thank you.